What's going on, my fellow Kino Lords? I know it's been a hot minute since I've uploaded anything on the channel, but I told y'all that this new PA job is gonna be kicking my ass, and it sure the fuck has been doing just that. But I figured since we got a new horror movie coming out this weekend, I have to make time for it. Not only because I was pretty interested in seeing it, but I really wanted to give my thoughts on it to you guys. So that horror movie is obviously from the title, The Monkey, that is written and directed by Oz Perkins. And it's based on a Stephen King novel, if I'm not mistaken. And just really quickly about Oz Perkins, this is a guy that I've kind of been hyping up since I first watched The Black Coat's Daughter and Gretel and Hansel. I know that not a lot of people were huge fans of Gretel and Hansel, but I actually enjoyed that movie quite a bit, even though it has a lot of glaring issues with expositional writing, and just kind of like shallow characters. The aesthetic craft to that movie and the horror atmosphere, I think, is exceptional. And I feel the same way about The Black Coat's Daughter and Longlegs. And I just feel like I knew after watching these films that the more movies that this guy makes, the more people are going to talk about this guy as like in the future as being like that guy when it comes to horror movies. Like they're going to be praising this guy up there with like Ari Aster and Robert Eggers in terms of like contemporary horror filmmakers. Obviously, he hasn't hit that point yet, but he's definitely making a name for himself to where people just know this guy and are really looking forward to his movies. But anyway, yeah, like after seeing the trailer for The Monkey, I didn't really know exactly what to expect from it, because the trailer definitely was giving vibes that it was like Oz Perkins taking horror in a totally different direction. Like it looked really silly and over the top. And I was a little bit confused because I was like, again, Oz Perkins has never done this with horror. Everything that he's made has been very sincere. So I was like, I don't know if it's a trailer, kind of like mismarketing this thing, or if it actually is going to be an over the top, like self-aware kind of horror, which felt a little odd to me because that's not what Oz Perkins is used to doing, or I had no idea he had any interest in. So after watching the movie, and especially after the first like 10 minutes of the opening scene in this movie, like it's very, very clear, at least in my opinion, that Oz Perkins he does not want the audience to be taking this movie all that seriously. Like he wants people to just watch it and have a good time with it. It's an incredibly comedic and self-aware, spoofy approach to the horror genre, and I like that. Like right out of the get-go, he just kind of makes that very clear to everybody. I mean, there's like a special appearance from Adam Scott in the opening scene of the movie, and I feel like that's like a little nod to the audience to be like, yeah, like this is kind of supposed to be funny, don't think too hard about it. There's even a scene like in the first 20 minutes of the movie where a character dies and her head gets cut off, and one of the child characters asks the mother at the funeral, like an open casket, he asked the mother, hey, how is her head still attached to her body? And then she turns to her kid and she just says, don't think about it too much. And again, like another, like, I feel like it's like another like little nod to like really let people know, just sit back, relax, and just have fun with the absurdity of this movie. And I did. I thought this movie was a lot of fun. I'm not super in love with it. I think there's elements about it that was kind of underwhelming. Especially like after that first act, I feel like it slows down, and I'll get to more of that in a little bit. But overall, like I did have fun with this movie and I did enjoy it. I think there's a lot of fun to be had with it, especially with all the kills, all the outrageous kills that are in this movie, and just like the writing of the dialogue is just so like I don't know, like it's so stilted and sometimes just like corny, but also clever. And this spoofy way that he's writing everything. Like there's a lot of like dialogue that's super on the nose, but it just seems like so intentional. And that's why it's kind of hard to like properly criticize this movie in any objective sense, because anything that you criticize about it, whether it be like, again, as I mentioned, like expositional writing or like corny acting from the actors, it feels like you could just chalk it up to it being completely intentional, because that's the point. It's trying to spoof this horror genre, which, by the way, is like this cursed object genre, like the monkey being the cursed object, and also kind of like this Final Destination subgenre kind of thing as well. And, again, you could just chalk everything up. Any flaw that you have with it, you could just chalk it up to being, well, it was intentional. That was the point. It's just really up to the fact that if the intentions work for you, like if the product itself works for you, then great. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But it's not like it was unintentional or anything. So it's kind of hard to critique a movie in this way, besides saying like, it just didn't work for me. It's not my thing. But it was my thing for the most part. I just felt like it could have done, however you want to say it, certain things better. Because the first act of this movie is, to me, like the best act of the movie. Like, I feel like that's kind of where the movie peaks. Like, that's where it keeps this constant energy. There's this big level of intrigue. Like the kills that flow naturally within that first act when the two main characters are children, I just think like is rock solid. Like, it is so entertaining, just a blast, and a lot of it works so well. It's just when it jumps 25 years into the future when they're adults, I feel like the pace slows down. The monkey doesn't make nearly as much of an appearance as it does in that first act. Like, I feel like it took, like, there was a period in the movie where I feel like so much time passed and the monkey was kind of like an afterthought. And I feel like with a movie like this, that is kind of like its main appeal is the monkey and the kills that come with it. You can't like have that much downtime in a movie without that being present. And I feel like there was too much downtime in the movie without that being present after that first act. And it was kind of like losing me a little bit with intrigue. So that was like something that I feel like was huge for me, because I kind of walked out of the movie I enjoyed it. Like I said, I really did. I had fun with it. But overall, I felt like, damn, I feel like it could have been much more. And it could have been a lot more of a blast, a lot more entertaining if it just kept that kind of energy. And unfortunately, I feel like it doesn't fully. But one thing I'll say about this movie is that it was interesting to see the sincerity of Oz Perkins's like aesthetic horror style being combined with something that is not taking itself seriously at all. Like, it has a very serious craft in terms of like the way that visuals flow, the atmosphere. Just again, like, it has a very sincere craft, but the material itself on paper and the approach to the material is very unserious. So it was interesting to see those two, what you would think be oil and water styles mix, but it actually works. Don't know how he like managed to make it work, but I just think that his commitment to the writing, like the kind of self-aware, dumb, corny writing, is what helps the movie a lot, because it keeps reminding the audience to just have fun with it, and that like he knows what he's doing here. And it works because there's actually like a lot of really solid craft here. I love some of the transitions in this movie. There's some really interesting foreshadowing transitions as well. There's like a lot of really great dissolves. There's this one dissolve transition where one of the boys in the bed is laying down, and it transitions to a stove, the flame of the stove being turned on, and it dissolves an image of the flame over the boy's head, which is foreshadowing that, about the kill we get later on in the film where a character's head's on fire. It's not me spoiling anything, it is in the trailer. And, there's a lot of like really neat things within his craft that I just really, really enjoyed. And just really appreciated, like on a creative level. So yeah, overall, like, I enjoyed the movie. The kills are absurd and hilarious. I just feel like it needed to pick up that pace for the rest of the movie, and I feel like it just slows down way too much. Because even some of the parts in, like, after that first act, some of the parts that do have kills, they're not really naturally flowing within the story. it just kind of like cuts to certain kills that happen like either like past or were that were suggested, and it just has like there's a part where it's just like a quick cut montage of a bunch of kills, and it's like fun, but then it just feels like it's almost forced to be there to try to like keep the audience interested rather than having something that felt naturally flowing. So yeah, I don't know. Even though I did enjoy it, I just kind of wanted more out of it. And that's just kind of my take on it right now. Maybe I'll watch it again in the future and feel differently, but that's just my initial take and my initial feeling walking out of it. But with that being said, I think that's about it, guys. I'll give The Monkey a very strong 6 out of 10. Don't know if I can go give it a 7. I wanted to. I thought like, I mean, the first act of this movie, I was like, this is like, I thought I was going to be like absolutely in love with this movie. But then like, I don't know, it just kind of, again, it peaked up there, and then just kind of as the movie kept going, I felt like it slowly like dropped. But still a solid movie, and I think you should check it out. Some people are really loving it, and I could see why. But yeah, by the way, there was a dad and his 2 kids that sat next to me. I don't know why and they were kids. They were like, one seemed, there's a little girl that was like 6 years old, and her brother that was like maybe 9 or 10. And I was like, okay, it's not really a bring your kids kind of movie at all, R-rated horror movie. I still don't think that way, but if you were to bring the kids to any R-rated horror movie, I guess this one would be okay, because even though it's like really violent and really, it's very cartoony with it. Like it's very obvious that it's supposed to be kind of taken as a joke, even if some of the imagery might have the potential to scar a little kid. Like I feel like it makes its tone very aware that it's just supposed to be funny and just have a good time with it. So it was okay. The dad was fucking sleeping the whole time though. It had nothing to do with the movie. Like as soon as the lights went down, he was just fucking out of it. And there were some parts where he was snoring so fucking loud. And I was like this close of like kicking the chair and being like, dude, wake up. But luckily his like 5-year-old daughter was like, Papa, wake up. You're embarrassing me. So, but anyway, that was a little aside. That was like pointless to talk about, but I just kind of had to talk about it because it was so essential to my viewing apparently. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's all I got to say about The Monkey. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm pretty sure this was going to be a bit divisive, in terms of what everybody thinks. But yeah, that's all I got to say about the movie. Please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.